and welcome back. It is Jen with Agent Advantage. So today we're going to be finishing up our series on medical gaslighting. And we're going to today be talking about how do you actually advocate fully for yourself? What are the words that you can use? What are some of these phrases, like even deeper than what we've already discussed? But again, how do we do also this respectfully, right? For ourselves and also for, our professional medical team that is trying to best support us. How do we do it in a non-combative, non-aggressive way, that feels calm and chill and, supportive to both parties so that we can have a mutually beneficial, productive conversation to help best support your care, how it should be supported. So we're going to talk about that. And then also we're going to dive a little bit deeper as well into who are also the resources that can really help you to navigate you through some of these difficult conversations. If you, again, need to have your symptoms be heard better, and you need, again, clinical evaluations to be done, diagnoses to be done, etc., that are just being dismissed and completely ignored, wrongly, I should say, by some of your medical team. What does that look like? How do you move forward? What do you do? What are those steps? So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we wrap up this series. So again, if you haven't watched the first ones, go back and watch those as well at some point. But again, Aging Advantage. So we're a nonprofit here in the St. Louis area. We serve St. Louis and the surrounding area. And we are able to do that through grants and donations and incredible partnerships with all these amazing organizations that we have here locally and also, some broader than that nationwide. So again, we just thank you for being with us. And I try to help educate you all and give you guys just really good tools and also empower you to be able to live healthier, more engaged, more fulfilled, safe, emotionally and mentally, physically, all the things, lives. And we try to do that around a lot of different topics and a lot of different areas. But, some of the main ones that we kind of put into buckets, if you will, are talking about, housing and, where you're living now versus, do we need to have you, do you need to move on? Do you need to move into, a care facility or something like that? And just all the different components to help keep your home safe, etc. So we talk about those things. We also talk about food and food insecurities and all the things surrounding food, as well as isolation issues. How to help you all just get out there, like I say, in the wild and be more social and to stay connected better for yourselves and also for others around you. Stay connected to people so that you can mentally and emotionally be engaged and help your health in that kind of way, as well as helping you guys be more confident and self-reliant, self-resilient in all the ways, and just feel better and safer. And again, just more confident in navigating your world, whether that's, inside your house or again, out there in the community, and just helping you to feel more secure doing that as well. And again, whether you are, the patient yourself or whether you are caregiving for someone else, please definitely, share this with someone else that you think might benefit from this content. Again, doesn't have to be here in the St. Louis area. It can be anyone, anywhere. And follow us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. And I always encourage you all as well. Definitely, if some of these things are resonating with you, please comment and share your successes that you or your family has had or friends in these areas. Because as we're building out this beautiful community with so many incredible people, especially all of you who are going through the aging journey, or also, disabled persons as well, especially for you guys in those communities. It is just such important information. And again, like I just really want to be able to create that community for all of you to empower each other and just really build each other up and share what's worked so that other people can try it out as well. So, again, today we're going to be talking about some of these really, really important topics of like, how do we get this stuff implemented? And so, as always, sit back, relax, get cozy as we get ready to go through this information. Grab what you're drinking, and let's get started. Okay, so, all right. So, the where we're going to start on here today is down here at this advocate for yourself. And, you know, also, as we talked about this a little bit yet, but this thread really runs through like all of the other strategies, like we discussed, right? You have to speak up clearly and calmly about your symptoms and your concerns because, being aggressive and being, not respectful is not going to help your cause, if you will. You want to just be assertive, but use respectful language and also a respectful tone. That whole thing sometimes that people will say, it's not necessarily what you say, but it's how you say it. I think a lot of times, and even to 3.0, that sometimes is like, not even those two things, but it's like how your face is saying it or your body language is saying it, kind of aggressively. So you just kind of want to make sure you have all three of those things in check. You want to make sure that what you're saying is appropriate, how your words and your delivery is. And again, you just want to make sure you're controlling your body language too. You're not getting like all up in their face and arms flailing around everywhere. You want to, be, again, respectful with your body language as well. But for example, what are some of these kind of words? So you might say something like, I really feel like I'm not being heard or I'm not being listened to fully. And I would just really respectfully appreciate if you take this seriously. Another thing you could say is, I want to make sure that we have fully explored all the possible options before we just move on and, just settle on, this is what it is. Another one would be, I'd like to understand, and this one is good, guys. This one is so good. I'd like to understand what would need to change for us to consider other types of testing or evaluation things, or other diagnoses. That one's awesome. Another key thing you can say too is help me understand better how you derived at this particular, diagnosis or not. And again, have we exhausted every possible thing testing wise, etc., that we can so that ask the doctor, like, do you feel, or the medical team, like, do you feel good that this is going to be also just like the final, diagnosis or the final plan? And totally valid, all the things. Again, like I said before, remember, public service announcement, we all work for you. You are the patient. We provide care to all of you. So in this kind of regard, just remember persistence is key. So your health and your well-being deserve to be prioritized. So it can feel uncomfortable to push back, and I'm going to replace push back here, guys, with question. It can feel uncomfortable to question a medical person. I get that. A lot of patients get, a lot of anxiety. We call it white coat syndrome, is what we jokingly call it. But, it's like they get nervous, they get anxiety, they get scared, they feel very inferior sometimes to a doctor in a white jacket, a white doctor coat, or, somebody medical in that kind of a setting. But again, just yes, you need to respect that person, right? They have done all the training and all the things, yes. But also, again, you have a right to ask and question, and especially for those of us who were raised to kind of to defer to authority figures, or who also worry about being seen possibly as being difficult, when standing up to authority figures. A lot of times, people then just won't do it. But advocating for yourself is not being difficult. Like, you're not being difficult. It's actually a beautiful, perfect thing, because it's actually you being a responsible steward and, again, advocate of your own health, which is what you have to do if you're going to stay healthy. And the providers who are truly worth your trust and worth your time will respond to that advocacy, with mutual respect, and what we want here ultimately is mutual. That means you and the providers, we want mutual respect, cooperation, and communication between both parties, back and forth, nice and smooth. So another thing here that I know I'm kind of going from down to up, but next, I want to talk really quick, briefly here. Now that we know, how do we advocate for ourselves? So one of those questions we might have advocated for ourselves and asked is, again, have we fully explored everything possible, potentially, before we move on, right? That was a question. But a part of the moving on might be you recognize, and or the medical professional recognizes that, maybe it would be good actually to send you to rheumatology for a consultation. Maybe it would be good to send you, to cardiology or to psychology, or, somebody else, right? Maybe we need to have you go see somebody else to get their opinion. With that being said, too, it's your absolute right as a patient to get a second opinion, even on the same type of provider that person is. So maybe they're like a primary care. Go seek out a different primary care. You absolutely have that right, and get their opinion on the situation, or maybe it's a cardiologist that you're sitting in front of. Go seek out a different cardiologist and get a second opinion to see what they would say, maybe even a third opinion. Doesn't hurt. And it's not a betrayal of your provider. Know that. It's not an overreaction on your part. It's just a normal, anticipated, and often medically necessary, medical necessity part of just navigating like the healthcare system in general. And any provider really, with all their credentials behind them, will respect that and will also understand that. So, just know that. And if your concerns are continued to be dismissed, especially with the provider that you're currently at, again, just continue to seek other, doctors out. And in that asking part, like we just talked about, the advocating for yourself, like, is there anything else, you think we could have explored, we could do? In that time, you can also ask for a referral, like I said, to a specialist. You can say, would this maybe be worth having a pulmonary doctor look at? Or since this is my like a foot thing, would it maybe be beneficial, do you think, to have a, podiatrist, like a foot doctor, look at this potentially as well? So again, you sometimes though have to help bring these things up and kind of navigate along your, your care path. and it's totally fine. You know, you have every right to explore those options. And, here in St. Louis, we are really, really fortunate, everyone here, to have a lot of excellent healthcare systems. We have BJC, we have SSM, we have Mercy, we have so many. We have Wash U, as well. Some academic medical centers affiliated, like Washington University is associated with BJC. St. Louis University is a lot of times, co-linked with some of, SSM, et cetera, as well. And, again, we have a lot of, we have St. Luke's, system as well. We have a lot of just really, really great options for you to explore. So don't hesitate, again, to ask, hey, is there possibly something else that we respectfully, right, might need to look at that maybe we, might have missed. Now, next, we're going to talk about care managers. And I want to spend a little time on this section because I think it represents one of the most underutilized, genuinely powerful resources available to older adults navigating some of these complex healthcare systems. And that's going to be a care manager. Sometimes a care manager, what are they? So a care manager is a healthcare professional. This person is often going to be a nurse, or they'll also be a social worker. So you're going to hear that a lot. Like I said, you'll hear yes, we have a social worker that we can, put a referral out to. Sometimes they will have, again, like a care manager that we'll call them, or like a nurse, navigator or something. But those people work specifically to support patients in navigating the healthcare system. It's beautiful. They also can help coordinate care across multiple providers. So I kind of look at these people as kind of like your quarterback on your team. So they're going to help you figure out how to move the ball around the field and how to navigate all those different medical care players, that you got on the field. Who needs to be going where and who needs to be doing what. So they kind of will help you get all of that coordinated, and it's beautiful. And they're going to help to advocate for you and help ensure that your needs and your conditions and concerns are heard and addressed. So let's look at what a care manager can do for you in this specific context here that we're talking about, though, of like this whole medical gaslighting scenario. So a care manager attends appointments sometimes with you, and they can help to ask the right questions or ensure your concerns are documented. Sometimes they can, on the phone, even ahead of time, like we talked about in the second video, they can help you to make that like pre-call plan if you're going to be, doing a virtual visit, or they can help you to do that, pre-visit. Either way, whichever you want to call it, like even in-person plan. They can help you write down your concerns. They can help you write down the questions you want to ask, etc. If they aren't going to be there physically with you, they can help you create one of these incredible detailed plans ahead of time so that you don't miss something potentially. And the great thing about these support providers is they know the healthcare system from the inside. They know also the language that these providers speak. They know ways and how to communicate with them also that are going to help you get the best kind of results for you in your types of specific conditions and also your kind of specific needs. So when a care manager's, in the room or with you, again, on the phone, and they ahead of time, you get the questions together and stuff, and the provider knows you're working with, a care manager, again, could be a nurse, could be a social worker, somebody like that. They might be under that care manager kind of umbrella. Your concerns are going to be harder to dismiss because that healthcare provider knows that you have backup, and they know that there's another set of eyeballs and ears that understands medical that's going to be advocating for you. So I absolutely love deploying, again, one of these types of support staff onto, cases, especially like this, where patients just don't feel like they're getting heard. Another thing that they do too is a care manager will also, again, help kind of document those interactions and can help escalate concerns formally when necessary. So their professional presence signals to providers that your care is being monitored and taken seriously. And when there's professional records of these dismissals or the providers not listening, not doing the right kind of testing, etc., it's going to create a level of accountability that simply doesn't exist when a patient is just navigating the system alone on their own. They also are, like I said, incredible at coordinating your care. So if you're seeing multiple providers, like example, like we were talking about earlier, you might be seeing a primary care doctor or a specialist. Maybe it's going to be a cardiologist, an orthopedic person, a neurologist, etc. That care manager is going to help track all those different referrals. They're going to also help you follow up on all those test results and connect specialists to you so that nothing falls through the cracks. And this is enormously important and super helpful. So can we give them a round of applause? Because this is such a hard job sometimes. And as a patient, especially as you age, if your, memory isn't quite there like it used to be, all of this can just be fiercely emotionally overwhelming, mentally exhausting, and it is hard to just navigate even at that. But then plus, if you add, some of this medical gaslighting onto it, it just compounds, the fragmented care that you feel like you're already getting anyhow. And at the end of the day, just remember too, like no single one provider has the full picture. And so, concerning information can get lost between offices and specialties. And again, like I was talking about, I think in the first one, but you get lost in, computer spreadsheet referral land somewhere and somebody forgets about you. And then 2 weeks later, you still haven't even gotten the phone call to get your x-ray scheduled. And you literally might have a broken something that needs attention like right away. So that's where, again, these care managers are awesome. Another thing that they're really good for too, that I love, is just beyond all these, nitty gritty logistics of navigating your care and next steps and next steps and next steps. And this deeply matters here. A care manager will help you. They will believe you. They'll listen. They'll validate your experience. They help to reduce that feeling of isolation and the feeling of you just not being valued and not being heard. They help you also to learn to trust your own instincts about your health, especially in a system where sometimes patients can feel like it is their job to be compliant and, kind of like the whole sit down, be quiet, don't ask questions, just do what I say. A lot of patients feel like that. And totally not the case. Totally shouldn't always just be that way. You have the right to ask questions. You have the right to, make sure that everything has been exhausted in terms of, again, testing, diagnosis, etc., because it's your body. You have to take care of it. You have to advocate for it. And so that's where I love care managers as well, because you have them in your corner and they are specifically there to make sure your concerns are heard, both practically and emotionally. And that is absolutely invaluable. So, here in St. Louis, again, care management services may be available through your health plan, even through your primary care practice. Like if you're a veteran, VA has incredible team of people that also does this, but there's a lot of community organizations like ourselves at Aging Advantage, or, like organizations too, like through St. Louis area Agency on Aging or SLAY. You've heard me talk about them before too, that can help connect you with care management resources in your area. And And all of these resources typically, are free. And so that is also incredible. So if you're unsure whether you have access to care management, it's absolutely worth also maybe calling your insurance provider and asking directly. But if you reach out to your primary care doctor, whoever that is, usually that office will again be able to help you and kind of navigate you in the right direction as well. Okay, so moving forward, we've covered a lot of ground over these last couple workshops here for this series. And kind of, I want to bring it all together for all of you, with the bow as we close. So here's what I want to carry, with you as you all leave and you move forward. So first thing is you deserve to be heard and taken seriously. And not because you're demanding or you're difficult, not because you have a medical degree, but because you're just a human being with a body that is telling you that something's maybe not right. And that deserves respect. Period. Full stop. You need to also trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, keep seeking answers. The human body is remarkably good at signaling you when something's off. And you, again, have lived in that body for decades. You are the world's leading expert on what is normal for you and what is not normal for you. When that internal signal is telling you that something has changed and that something doesn't feel right, or example, that a provider's explanation or what they are recommending doesn't match what you are experiencing, doesn't match your level of symptoms, that you've continuously had for a really long time, trust that. That's not paranoia. That's not you being extra. That's not you exaggerating. It is self-knowledge and truly a form of self-care. Also, connect with support. You don't have to navigate this alone. There are patient advocacy groups, mental health professionals, and a lot of people as well that understand medical trauma and understand, again, some of this medical gaslighting, as I'm using this kind of term, but they understand this path that some of you unfortunately are on. And there are supportive communities of people who have had similar experiences and can offer both practical guidance and also human solidarity to your cause. The slide, lists as well on here on the bottom, on this bottom part down here. The slide also lists several resources, that I also want you guys to know about. So the Patient Advocate Foundation provides case management services and financial assistance for patients dealing with chronic, life-threatening, or debilitating illnesses. They can also help navigate sometimes like insurance providers or, provider disputes. NAMI is going to stand for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They can offer support for very real mental health impact of medical gaslighting, including anxiety or depression that can result from feeling just chronically dismissed again and again and again and not heard. The National Women's Health Network provides research-based health information and advocacy specifically for women navigating the healthcare system. And Patients Like Me connects with communities of people who share your health concerns and types of conditions, which can be enormously validating when you've been made to feel that your experience or your symptoms are unusual or also sometimes even imaginary, unfortunately. And again, here in St. Louis, if you need help navigating some of those things or connecting to different healthcare systems, again, don't hesitate to reach out to SLAY or the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging, or speak to us, at Aging Advantage, and we're happy to help you, get the support that you might need, or help at least kind of get you navigated in the right direction. And as well, like I've discussed too, just know that whether you're the patient or maybe you are, a family caregiver or a friend caregiver of someone else, if you are struggling to kind of help navigate some of these things for the people that you caregive for, also please reach out, because there is incredible, like we have at Aging Advantage, and also, through SLAY or whatever, but as well, but we have incredible resources to support specifically family caregivers and friend caregivers, and, just whoever's caregiving. We have a lot of resources to be able to support all of you as well. So, you don't have to fight the fight alone. There are people and resources that are absolutely there, to support you and your family as you all, continue to move forward. And again, I just want to really, uplift that. I wanted to create this content for all of you who have ever sat in a waiting room feeling anxious about, being believed. Like, is this person, is this provider, like, are they really going to listen to me? Are they going to take me seriously? For everyone who's also been minimized of their own pain before, or even sometimes even before an appointment, or they, or again, like, how bad is it? And like, you really want to answer, like, this is bad, it's like 7 out of 10 bad, but the doctor, or the medical provider has kind of teed up the conversation to where you're now doubting, okay, is it really that bad? Like, maybe I just answer 3 out of 10 just to keep the peace and, kind of be safe here. And absolutely do not do that. Again, like, everyone has, had these experiences, unfortunately, sometimes, some of us more than others, but I want you all just to know, again, you're not being dramatic. Again, you're the expert on your own body. You have to report your symptoms and all the things that's happening, head to toe with you, to that provider. And another thing too, again, just with all this kind of topic, I also wanted to lend support and also just encouragement too for all of you that have walked out of a doctor's office kind of, again, feeling more confused, and smaller, and dismissed. So, it creates, unfortunately, an environment where people begin to wonder, in the privacy of their own thoughts, at home, when they're sitting there after the visit, they're like, am I like making this up? Like, am I crazy? Again, am I being extra? Maybe it isn't that bad. Or, you start then doubting, like, okay, is it really this body part? Maybe it's this other thing. Maybe it is what they said, or, they didn't even address it at all. So maybe it's not that big of a deal. Like, I brought it up and they just skipped right over it and went, to a different topic. So again, you're not making it up. Your body's real, your experiences are real, your symptoms are real, and you deserve a level of care that, again, mutual respect, cooperation, communication, you deserve that level of care that takes all three of those into consideration, that you can have that respectful dialogue with your medical providers so that they can help you and honor you and get you the kind of treatment and the kind of care that you absolutely need. And just know, again, like, no healthcare system, no doctor, no doctor's office, etc., is ever going to be perfect. Far from. We, all have a lot on our plate, and I get that. But the more power and the more knowledge that you all have to know, like, how it should go, the more, again, you realize what you can do, what's in your control. And again, like we talked about, you can keep records, keep your little journal, bring a support person with you, or have a care manager come with you. Have somebody, like we talked about, make your little pre-call or pre-visit questions and plans and concerns. Write it all out. Bring that with you and keep records. The doctor said this. These are the next tests I'm supposed to get. Oh, I'm supposed to have a referral to the pulmonary doctor. Like write these things down and keep a record. That, you can control. Seek a second opinion. If you don't feel like you're getting heard and you have to advocate clearly, again, calmly, clearly, but also persistently. And you need to reach out. Reach back out. You're not bugging the doctor's office. You're not annoying them. No, like if you know on your little list that you were supposed to get, again, like I've used this example a couple times, we're going to stick with it. But if you know, like you were supposed to get referred for an x-ray and it's been 2 weeks and nobody, that's way too long anyway. But if nobody's reached out to you, you know that. So reach back out to that doctor that you saw and see if they put the referral in and ask, hey, what do I need to do? Next steps to keep this moving forward. Because you have to, you've heard me say this all the time, but next important 3-letter word after God is ask. You have to ask and you have to advocate. You're not bugging them. You're not annoying them. You are doing the best form of self-care you can, taking care of yourself and taking care of your body. So again, thank you all for being here today. And, this is exactly what kind of conversations and educational opportunities that, we exist for, honest, practical information, like rooted in deep respect for you and, your experiences. And again, helping you to take care of yourself and each other as best as you all can. So please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss a presentation and educational opportunity in the future. And again, share this with someone not in this area potentially. And we have much more coming up, education content-wise for all of you. And we just look forward to connecting with you in those conversations as well. So take care of yourself and of each other because you deserve nothing less. We got to take care of this body, right? Because that's what we got. So thank you all for joining me, and we will see you in the next one.